What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a spoiler discussion / ending explains to The Running Man, the Edgar Wright film that is an adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you've seen The Running Man when you watch this video. As we all know, this is a more faithful adaptation to the Stephen King novel, warts and all. I wanted to talk about the ending to this movie. The movie itself is pretty similar to the book. I mean, there's changes here where the Michael Cera character, who's like the guy who helps out Ben Richards, is really fat and really overweight in the book and more of a mama's boy. Here, he's more of, Michael Cera doing the funny jokes and stuff like that. And, he has like the water gun and he is a mama's boy, but it's really rushed. So there's not as much like material there. And he does die like he does in the book. McCone doesn't feel like he's very much used in the book as he is in this movie. And I think that's the fact that Lee Pace is in this movie, which is a fun time to begin with. William H. Macy's Molly character is a little bit different than it is in the book, and pretty much the story, like him going to the hotel and him, Emilia Jones' character, and he meets the brother and his the two brothers or whatever, and he does the tapes, and he a lot of the stuff in this movie is like literally beat by beat around the book, and that could be also a problem because in the book it kind of is jarring with how it edits between scenes, so it just kind of goes between scenes really quickly. But the disguises and how he gets on the Running Man and how he talks to Dan Killian and how he's kind of manipulated by Dan Killian, especially at the end where he's offered the hunter's role, and then like the manipulation of the tapes and everything like that. It's very similar to the book, so there's nothing really to talk about in the spoiler discussion sense. I wanted to talk about the ending because it is pretty different in a sense, to be fairly honest. So with that said, the end of this book the movie, or the end of the book and the movie veer off in a really interesting direction. In the book, it follows the same pattern as the movie does, where Ben Richards kidnaps Emilia Jones's character, Emilia, whatever. Anyways, it kidnaps Emilia, and they find themselves at the airport. And of course, in the book, it's at night, but they are able to secure a plane, which has all the hunters on it. That's all the same. This is when Dan Killian offers Ben Richards a job as a hunter. He has to kill the other hunters. It's all the same. At that point, he reveals that, of course, his Ben Richards' wife and daughter were killed 10 days prior. So pretty much when this story begins, his family was killed by a bunch of goons. And in this movie, it's actually the hunters that kill the wife and daughter. So you think, quote unquote. So you think. And so McCone pretty much mortally wounds Ben Richards, and Emilia gets ejected out of the plane like she does in the movie, and McCone dies, all that good stuff. And what ends up happening is, as we see in the movie, Ben Richards is going to be thrust into the building that is killed and like made like a victim of the situation, or as a bad guy as he's made through the movie. But in the book, he actually because his family's killed, he actually like thrusts the plane into the building and kills Dan Killian's character, and that's where the book ends. And it's very Stephen King-esque because it's kind of like that's kind of a letdown a little bit, because all this story leading up, and it's just kind of the 80s version of what Stephen King is known for doing. But the movie takes a completely different direction because it takes that portion and manipulates it into, they're going to manipulate Ben Richards into this bad guy that is purposely killing all these people in this building where the Running Man is held. And then it leads to the brother, the one that we see in the movie who has all those videos, he's exposing what the Running Man is, explaining that there was a cockpit that was ejected from the plane that proves that Ben Richards didn't die. And of course, at the end, Ben Richards' family is alive, and Ben Richards is now a martyr, and he is looked upon as a savior. And that spark that Michael Cera's character talks about, that light of spark that causes a revolution, and it basically leads to Bobby T, the Coleman Domingo character, quitting, and Dan Killian basically losing control of his Running Man's show in the corporation. And then Ben Richard pops up and shoots him in the face, killing Dan Killian like he did in the movie or the book, but way different. Of course, Ben, I mean, you could look at it a little differently, like different ways. Like maybe this is a different manipulation of the Ben Richards. Maybe he did die. I mean, it's entirely possible, but in essence, they've changed it where I hate to say it, I don't think Edgar Wright had the balls to go with the original ending because it's a really dark ending. It's a really messed up ending. You know, his family dies. What purpose did this whole entire story even have outside of just media manipulation? But here, it's given a much more positive ending where revolutionary happens, and Ben Richards is able to be that martyr, and he's able to save his family, and his family lives and stuff like that. And the hunters are basically accused of killing the family. It's all, once again, media manipulation. And it's an interesting ending, to be fairly honest. I think it's, you know, going that dark route. When I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, they're actually going for it. They're going to kill his family, and they're going to have him crash into the building. Looks like he's mortally wounded. The Emilia Jones character has been ejected from the plane, and it's a pretty bold ending, or at least kind of bold. I mean, depends on how you feel about it. But then they go that other route, and I was pretty surprised by that because I was not expecting it. But it feels like, you know, it feels very much in line with trying to say something about 2025 and about the nature of the world and the nature of how media is being corrupted today, and how, you know, depending on your views, is being very it's very chaotic and crazy, and we completely are under the spell of, you know, all these news stations, and we're completely under the spell of, you know, our governments who really don't seem to care about us. And it's a lot of Edgar Wright and his writers kind of, which is what the book was trying to do, because, you know, the book is written, I think, around the Reagan era or something like that. And there's just a lot of talking about how media is very politicized, and media can be used to corrupt the individual, and it can get to a point where, you know, we have the Long Walk, or we have the Hunger Games, or we have the Running Man, where it's being used against us, and we only need that one person who can ignite the spark that will cause the revolution. And I think that's what they're going for. I think they're looking for somebody to be that person. And I think it's an interesting take. I just thought it was a very something I wasn't expecting, to be fairly honest, but it's a pretty bold take, to be absolutely honest. And once again, you still kill off Dan Killian, but it's just an interesting way to do it. With that said, I mean, the movie's really good. The movie's really good. It's really fun. Like I said, the introduction to Michael Cera's character, the kid, the young person, Elton, is really weird, and I love his mother in this movie, who's a lot of fun. And yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the big difference from the book. Once again, is nowhere near the similarities of, like, or nowhere near what the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie did, but this is really close to the book. And yeah, that's the ending. Like I said, it leads to Ben Richards still alive, and his family still alive, because he shows up to his family and he kills Dan Killian by shooting him in the face. And yeah, that's the ending explained for The Running Man 2025. So I'm interested to know what you guys think about when you see the movie, or if you've read the book recently or read the book at all. What do you think about this, like, difference of endings? Like, what do you think about what they did? Because they show the original book ending, but they use it in a manipulation form to the point where they make everybody think that Ben Richards has died, but he's really alive, and they use a different kind of form and way of ending it. It still holds that Ben Richards is still alive, because, like I said, they use more of the audience and the people to kind of show the world that expands upon what the book didn't do. But I'm kind of curious of what you guys think about that. So let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.